they say love is a battlefield.
Oh, it is definitely battlefield.
Right. But I am actually starting to think that the real battlefield is like an international airport terminal at 2 in the morning, or, a completely chaotic DIY wedding in the middle of a California heat wave.
Honestly, yes.
No.
Or the absolute war zone that is the internet comment section when people make like the worst, most legally binding decisions of their entire lives on national television.
Oh my God, the comment sections are ruthless.
It is significantly less of a battlefield and much more of an active, highly documented crime scene of emotional intelligence. And honestly, we are just the yellow tape trying to rope it all off so nobody else gets hurt.
Exactly. Babes, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and we've got spiked peach lemonade on deck because apparently discussing other people's romantic disasters requires hydration with a little attitude.
Heavy on the attitude and incredibly heavy on the spikes today. Like if you are sitting there in your car right now or pretending to work on a spreadsheet at your desk, just know we are right there with you.
We see you. We really do.
We are your designated guides through the absolute chaos of reality television romance. Think of us as the unfiltered besties you desperately need when you just have to look at someone and scream, "Did they really just say that on camera?"
Yes. We are sipping our drinks, we are settling in, and we are ready to get incredibly messy today on the Snark side. Because honestly, the absolute lack of self-awareness we are witnessing right now...
It's spectacular. It really is.
It is a gift. But listen, before we start diagnosing international television couples and, picking apart their life choices, we need to hold the mirror up. We need to diagnose ourselves.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
It is time for our weekday horoscopes. And I feel like the universe, the star, like the entire planetary alignment was specifically targeting me this week.
I mean, the universe targets you because you make it so incredibly easy to be targeted. You practically send the cosmos an engraved invitation to humble you.
I do not.
You do. Go on. What is your astrological damage for the week? Break it down for us.
Okay, fine. So, my horoscope for the week. Let's start with love. Apparently, I need to stop romanticizing basic transactional interactions with baristas just because they remember I like oat milk in my latte.
See, targeted.
Stop. The stars literally said that is not a proposal. That is simply customer service.
Which is something I have been telling you for, 6 months now?
I know. But okay, moving on to work. It says, I will absolutely convince myself that spending way too much money on aesthetic, pastel-colored office supplies is somehow going to cure my chronic procrastination.
And did you buy the pastel highlighters yesterday?
I bought the highlighters, the sticky notes, and a blush pink stapler. So yeah, money category, gone. Vaporized by the aforementioned office supplies.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Social life. Thriving, but exclusively in group chats where we dissect other people's drama instead of dealing with our own.
I feel very seen by that one.
Right. And my one massive warning for the week, do not text my ex who has a podcast.
I swear to you right now, if you even open his contact card, I'm going to physically take your phone and throw it into a moving body of water.
I won't. I deleted his number. Most
likely. No, let's circle back to the barista thing for a second.
Yeah.
Because you did look me in the eyes last Tuesday and tell me that the guy at the drive-thru saw your soul.
He handed me a birthday cake pop with lingering eye contact. It felt significant.
Oh, it didn't?
The energy shifted in the drive-thru lane, I swear.
The energy shifted because there were like 4 cars behind you honking, and he was just waiting for you to hit the 20% tip button on the iPad. It wasn't a soul connection, babe. It was a guilt trip.
You are so cynical.
Yeah.
Fine, your turn. Let's look at your projected disaster.
All right, my horoscope. Let's see. Love. I'm going to end up financially auditing a Hinge date before the spinach and artichoke dip even arrives at the table.
Which is entirely 100% accurate. You asked for credit scores on date 2.
It saves time. Work. I will aggressively organize multiple Excel spreadsheets to avoid processing any of my actual human emotions.
Also true.
Money. Stagnant, because I flatly refuse to spend a single dollar on anything that doesn't yield a tangible, immediate return on investment. So no pink staplers for me.
You are missing out on the joy of aesthetics, but okay. What about social life?
Curated, highly exclusive, to the point of near non-existence. And my one warning for the week is that my resting judge face is getting entirely too loud, and I need to consciously relax my forehead before someone in public asks me if I'm angry.
Oh my gosh, your resting judge face isn't just loud, it is at a deafening decibel. It needs its own volume control knob.
It is just my face.
You literally glared at a pigeon yesterday for walking inefficiently on the sidewalk.
The pigeon lacks spatial awareness. It was zigzagging. I just wanted it to pick a lane.
You are unhinged. But honestly, looking at these horoscopes and looking at the way we operate, I mean, it really sends you into a total love spiral, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like, if you were listening to this right now, I know you feel it too. Are we all just out here projecting our unhealed stuff onto these absolute strangers on TV?
Yes. Yes, we are.
I look at my dating life right now, and the hinge exhaustion is so deeply, painfully real. Swiping genuinely feels like a second, unpaid, full-time job.
With absolutely zero healthcare benefits, by the way.
All right, and terrible middle management and a human resources department that just ghosts you after the first interview.
It is completely exhausting. I was literally crying over this exact concept the other day, just staring at my phone screen.
And it makes me wonder, is love actually getting harder to find? Or are we just collectively, as a generation, less willing to put up with absolute nonsense?
I think it's the nonsense. Because I feel like 10 years ago, people would just settle for a guy who owned like a metal mattress frame and vaguely knew how to boil pasta.
Literally. The bar was in hell now. We want emotional availability, we want them to have an active relationship with a licensed therapist, and we expect a flawless text-back ratio.
Right, but there's this incredibly thin, blurry line between having healthy, non-negotiable standards and just being a completely impossible human being to please.
Okay, that's true.
Like, we all say we want someone who is spontaneous, but incredibly reliable. Highly ambitious, but always available for a Tuesday afternoon walk. Financially stable, but definitely not obsessed with their career.
We want unicorns.
Exactly. It is the ultimate battle between romantic delusion and realistic expectations. We're constantly searching the horizon for unicorns when we are sitting right in the middle of a field of very average, perfectly fine horses.
Okay, but let me push back on you for a second, because you were always talking about logic and return on investment and vetting people. I want to know, who would you actually drop everything and cross an ocean for?
Me.
Yes, realistically. If we strip away the romance novels and the rom-coms, what gets you on an international flight for love?
Honestly, realistically, it's not a beanbox outside my bedroom window.
I figure.
I would cross an ocean for someone with a fully vested 401k, excellent proactive communication skills, and a fundamental understanding of how to load a dishwasher efficiently without me having to stand over their shoulder and intervene.
Oh my God.
That is the true, unfiltered romance of adulthood. I do not need a grand gesture. I need a diversified financial portfolio and a quiet, predictable evening where nobody asks me what is for dinner.
You are so incredibly cold.
I am practical.
But also, you are kind of right. It's the stability that is actually sexy. So, babes, are we waiting for love, or are we just waiting for someone to finally text us back?
Most of the time, let's be real, it is just the text. It is the validation.
It's totally the validation.
It is the tiny spike of dopamine hitting our frontal lobe, which actually brings us to the other major thing currently destroying our dopamine receptors.
Oh my gosh, do not even say it. The crochet madness.
Yes, our current Snark Squad craft obsession, and I blame you for this. Entirely and unequivocally, you brought this into my home.
I am taking absolutely zero responsibility for the algorithm. You cannot blame me for what TikTok serves you on your For You page.
You sent me the video. You watch one single 3-minute tutorial of a girl with perfect aesthetic ring lighting making a chunky knit blanket, and immediately you think, I am a professional fiber artist now.
I mean, she made it look so easy.
This is my true calling. I am going to open an Etsy shop. It is the grandest delusion.
It really is a delusion.
It is absolute hubris to think that watching a video sped up 400% and edited to perfection somehow magically translates to actual physical motor skills.
My hands just don't know what to do.
My living room currently looks like a chaotic, tangled mess of premium yarn. It looks like a pastel-colored crime scene.
A crime scene.
I have exactly 14 half-finished squares sitting on my coffee table that were originally supposed to be a trendy cardigan.
Okay, but at least you have actual geometric squares. Mine looks like a very confused, lumpy snake that swallowed a softball. I don't even know what stitch I'm doing anymore.
The ongoing joke in my household is whether either of us will ever actually finish a single functional piece of clothing.
Never. We will never finish. And the absolute best part is, we genuinely had the grand delusion, sitting right here at these microphones last week, of launching a Snark Squad crochet merchandise line.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Like, we were going to hand-make custom sweaters for every single listener.
To even break even on the labor, we would have to charge $8,000 a sweater.
Literally.
Just to cover the hourly wage of us sitting on the couch angrily untangling yarn while screaming at reality television. It is a completely unsustainable business model.
Exactly. Babes, we wanted a relaxing hobby and somehow created another full-time job.
A full-time job that we are both remarkably terrible at, mind you.
Completely awful at. But babes, enough about our horoscopes, love delusions, spiked peach lemonade, and crochet disasters. Let's get into 90 Day Fiancé, where people are crossing oceans for love while we're struggling to finish a crochet project.
Yes, let's do it. We are breaking down Season 12, Episode 15. The episode is titled, It's Better to Bend Than Break.
Ooh, such a dramatic title.
And let me tell you right out of the gate, if we are looking at this overarching theme of control, like how we try to control our environments, our partners, and our anxieties, the bending has officially snapped.
The tree is broken in half.
Exactly. We need to start immediately with Catie and Joshua, because watching them interact is making me lose my analytical mind.
Oh my God, Catie and Joshua. Okay, I'm going to introduce a theory here right away. Because I was watching her behavior in California, and it suddenly clicked for me.
I am ready. Give me the theory.
What we are witnessing with Catie is textbook psychological displacement. Think about it. She is 4 days out from her wedding. There in California, it is sweltering hot, and she is fully micromanaging every single aspect of a DIY wedding.
Covered in powdered sugar, making her own wedding cake from scratch.
Yes. To save, what, $500, she's doing all the decorations, she's arranging the floral centerpieces, and she is incredibly stressed. But the stress isn't about the cake.
No, it never is about the cake.
It's about the fact that she cannot control the massive legal and emotional commitment she's about to make, so she is hyper-fixating on leveling a sponge cake.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Displacement. Let's unpack the absolute delusion of the DIY wedding when you are already in a fragile international relationship.
It's a recipe for disaster.
You are 96 hours away from signing a legally binding document that ties your entire financial and legal existence to a foreign national.
Yeah.
And instead of preserving your nervous system, sitting down and communicating with your partner, you are having a meltdown over fondant.
Over fondant. It makes no sense.
It is a classic misdirection of control. She feels completely out of control of Joshua, his family, and the future, so she focuses all of her frantic energy on the precise placement of a sugar rose.
It is entirely misdirected anxiety, but then the real bombshell drops, because the cake isn't enough to distract her anymore.
Brace yourselves.
Out of absolutely nowhere, while covered in wedding stress and literal frosting, Catie drops this massive bomb. She tells Joshua she wants to propose an open relationship.
I screamed at my television.
I was gasping. She sits there and actually says, what if we get bored in 5 years and want to make out with someone?
The phrasing alone. Make out with someone. Are we in middle school?
Right. And Joshua, who has stated clearly, explicitly, and repeatedly that he wants a traditional monogamous marriage, just looks utterly destroyed.
It wasn't just a bombshell. It was a highly calculated tactical strike on a relationship that was already struggling to survive the daily blast radius of her mood swings.
They're so mean.
And I am going to push back on the idea that this is just anxiety. This is not just a nervous bride acting out.
You don't think so?
No, this is a deliberate, cruel test. She is staring down the barrel of forever, and she is panic pushing the biggest red button she can find right before the altar to see if he will finally break and run away.
Oh, wow. You really think it's a test, not just a genuine desire for an open marriage?
I think it is a hostage negotiation disguised as progressive relationship philosophy. He is sitting there, looking like a haunted Victorian ghost who just wants a cup of tea and a quiet life, explicitly asking for trust. And she responds by negotiating the future terms of her own infidelity. It is emotional sabotage.
A haunted Victorian ghost. That is perfectly accurate. And then, as if that wasn't enough to give everyone watching a stress ulcer, it gets so much worse.
The parents.
The parents, Joshua's conservative British parents arrive. They have flown all the way from the UK. We know they are traditional. We've seen them previously when Catie met them in Cambridge in Sweden.
They just want a normal family gathering.
Right. So they all sit down for a lovely formal cup of Earl Grey tea in the California heat. And his parents naturally ask Catie about her wedding vows. Like, what is she going to promise their son in 4 days?
A completely standard, polite question.
And this girl, I literally had to pause my television. I stood up and paced my living room. Catie actually says out loud, directly to his conservative parents' faces, that she is going to vow to try to not get other lovers.
I physically cringed into my couch. Let's look at the mechanics of this conversation. This is reckless, unhinged behavior that borders on performative cruelty.
It was so disrespectful.
You do not joke, and that's if we are generously assuming it was a joke about acquiring other lovers while drinking tea with traditional British parents who just crossed the Atlantic to watch their son get married.
They looked horrified.
It shows a complete, terrifying lack of situational awareness. You are looking at an audience, his parents, and you are actively choosing the most incendiary combination of words possible.
But why? Why does she do it? From an emotional standpoint, I look at her and I see someone who is so deeply terrified of failure that she wants to be the one to orchestrate the failure.
Control the narrative.
Exactly. If she blows it up now, she controls the narrative. If she tries her hardest and it fails in 3 years, she's heartbroken. She's putting up this massive wall of, I'm so unconventional and wild, to hide the fact that she is petrified of being vulnerable.
Okay, but what I really want to analyze is Joshua's mechanism of response. Why does Joshua tolerate this? He is operating like a walking doormat.
He really is.
He just absorbs the disrespect. He internalizes it. One of the YouTube commentators we love, Movie Nornloy, pointed this out perfectly in their review. How can Josh possibly sit there and ask for trust when all Catie does at every turn is demonstrate that she does not care about his feelings, his boundaries, or his trust?
That is such a good point. I think Joshua has fallen into the sunk cost fallacy.
Big time.
He has invested so much time, he has moved countries, he has brought his parents over. He thinks, well, if I just endure this panic attack of hers, we'll get to the other side and she'll calm down.
She won't calm down.
But you can't build a marriage on enduring your partner's disrespect. The internet is seeing right through it, too.
Yeah.
There was a Reddit user, SummerIsle7, who brought up an interesting counterpoint.
Oh, what did they say?
They noted that Josh isn't entirely perfect either. Like, he gets stupidly drunk and has his moments of immaturity, so maybe their baselines aren't actually that far apart.
I mean, even if his baseline is flawed, telling your future in-laws you will try not to sleep with other people is a completely different stratosphere of unacceptable.
Sure.
It completely invalidates the sanctity of the contract they're about to enter.
It is the ultimate cringe. I honestly do not know if they're going to physically make it down the aisle. She is treating the concept of monogamy like it is a tight pair of uncomfortable heels. She is already actively planning to kick off under the table at the reception.
Well, speaking of tight, uncomfortable situations and the desperate urge to run away, we must shift our focus to Marissa and Edward.
Oh boy, the restaurant.
Because if Catie is sabotaging her relationship quietly with passive-aggressive vows, Marissa's doing it loudly, publicly, and dramatically in a high-end New York restaurant. And this brings us right back to our theme of control.
Oh, this fight. This absolute disaster of a dinner. Okay, let's dissect exactly what happened here.
Walk us through it.
We are continuing from the fallout of last week's massive argument in New York. They are at this beautiful, fancy restaurant. It is supposed to be this gorgeous, romantic night out.
Mood lighting, expensive menus.
Right. They are dressed up, the lighting is dim, they are trying to reconnect and regulate their relationship. And Edward, out of absolutely nowhere, while they are literally looking at the menu, brings up the heavy conversation from last week about cheating.
Why?
I don't know. He leans in and explicitly says, if you mess up, that's your problem.
Which, from a purely strategic communication standpoint, is such an immature, provocative thing to say over the appetizer course. It is the definition of poking the bear.
Exactly. It is like someone pulling the fire alarm in a crowded theater just to see if the sprinkler system still works.
Great analogy.
So understandably, Marissa snaps. Her nervous system is completely fried at this point. She says she just wanted a good, peaceful night. And instead of screaming at him at the table and making a scene, she stands up and storms out of the restaurant to calm down outside on the sidewalk.
And here is where the fundamental clash of their communication styles happens. Because they speak two entirely different, deeply incompatible emotional languages.
Yes, they do.
Edward feels like his feelings are constantly being dismissed. He believes he is just expressing his authentic emotions, sharing his anxieties, and he views her walking away as an abandonment.
He always plays the victim.
Marissa, on the other hand, feels cornered. She feels ambushed in a public setting where she can't freely react without embarrassment. She eventually comes back to the table and essentially demands that he lower his voice and fix his attitude.
Honestly, I am going to be honest here. I am entirely on Marissa's side here. I really am.
Really? Entirely?
Yes. If you are sitting at a nice restaurant, trying to have a pleasant evening, and your partner deliberately starts prodding you with heavy, accusatory, hypothetical scenarios about cheating, You have every right to physically remove yourself from that environment before you explode.
I mean, walking out is intense.
She walked away to regulate her nervous system. She walked away to preserve her dignity and the aesthetic of the evening. That is actually emotional regulation.
I hear your point about nervous system regulation, but we have to look at the historical data of this season to get the full picture. The internet is having an absolute field day analyzing this dynamic.
What are they saying?
And I have to say, I completely agree with the Reddit commentary on this specific issue. There was a brilliant, highly analytical breakdown by a user named Digested Cloth.
Okay, lay it on me.
They pointed out the overarching pattern. All season long, Marissa has insisted on cornering Edward into heavy, incredibly uncomfortable conversations, precisely when he just wanted to have a chill, relaxing day.
Well, she needed answers.
But whenever he tried to be positive, she would relentlessly dismiss his outlook as naivety because it countered her own internal doubts.
I mean, you can look at it that way, but she was actively trying to get to the bottom of very real systemic issues in their relationship.
But look at the staggering hypocrisy of the mechanism here. When the discomfort is hers to carry, suddenly she doesn't have the bandwidth.
That's a little harsh.
As that Reddit user perfectly summarized it, only Mommy Marissa gets to dictate how and when she feels things. When it's time for her to actually sit and listen to his anxieties, she just wants to have a good night.
Oof. Mommy Marissa is a harsh label.
But it fits. She is fundamentally confusing being emotionally demanding with being emotionally mature. She thinks because she uses therapy speak, she is in the right, but she uses it as a tool for control.
Wow. Okay, I hear the logic in that argument. She does like to control the timing of the conflict. But even if that is true, Edward's communication style is still incredibly immature.
Oh, he's a mess too.
He brings up these heavy, traumatic, hypothetical situations strictly to get a reaction out of her, and then the second she reacts, he immediately plays the victim. I'm just expressing myself.
Classic deflection.
No, Edward, you are poking the bear because you have an anxious attachment style, and you require constant, exhausting reassurance that she isn't going to leave you.
They're both trapped in this horrible cyclical loop of mutual immaturity. He provokes us because he is deeply insecure about his standing in the relationship.
Exactly.
And she bolts because she can dish out the heavy interrogations, but she absolutely cannot tolerate being on the receiving end of them. Even the YouTube reviewer Bayon Vlogs pointed out a critical dynamic.
Oh, I love them. What did they say?
Marissa has continuously held the marriage over his head as leverage. She basically communicated that she was 100% in, but now, because of his behavior, she has to find her way back. It is incredibly manipulative to use the wedding itself as a bargaining chip to enforce good behavior.
It is so messy. The power dynamics are constantly shifting. I just feel like they are perpetually misinterpreting each other's core intent.
They're speaking past each other.
Yes. When Marissa says, "I need a minute," Edward translates that in his head to, "I do not care about your feelings." And when Edward says, "I'm just expressing my anxiety," Marissa translates that to, "I am actively trying to ruin your life in this dinner right now."
It is exhausting to watch them miss each other in the dark over and over again.
So exhausting.
Almost as exhausting as watching someone attempt to negotiate the creation of a biological child in exchange for voiding a legal financial document.
My goodness, do not even get me started. Which brings us to what has to be the absolute wildest, most logically unhinged scene of the entire episode.
Mallory and Rashid.
The boat scene.
What I am officially calling the aquatic hostage negotiation.
Okay, to be fair, the initial setup for this scene is actually kind of sweet. Mallory surprises Raj with this private boat trip on a lake because he has been incredibly homesick.
Yeah, he's been moping.
He misses the sea in Turkey. He is sulking around the house, so she rents this boat. She even buys him this little captain's hat. But the vibe is immediately terrible. You can cut the tension with a knife.
Because they are completely gridlocked on the baby ultimatum. Raj is drawing a massive, unmovable, hard line in the sand or the water given the setting.
Right.
He states unequivocally that if she does not agree to have a baby with him soon, he's going to end the relationship, pack his bags, and fly back to Turkey.
And you can literally see the panic wash over Mallory's face. She is panicking. She explains that she likes kids, she loves babies, but she is just not ready for that massive lifestyle shift right now.
Which is a valid boundary.
She needs 2 years to establish their life together first. So, in a desperate, frantic attempt to keep him from leaving the country, she initiates the most delusional compromise I have ever witnessed on television. Let's break down exactly what she offers.
I need to break this down analytically because my brain essentially short-circuited trying to follow the logic.
It was crazy.
She sits across from him on this boat and negotiates the following terms. If you give me time and space on the kid issue for 2 years, I will not make you sign a prenuptial agreement.
And Raj, without missing a single beat, just accepts this deal.
Unbelievable.
And then, to seal this bizarre contract, she literally gets down on one knee on the deck of the boat, pulls out a ring, and proposes to him.
Will you marry me?
This is, without a doubt, the most legally, logically, and financially catastrophic deal in the history of reality television.
It really is.
Let us look at the mechanism of what she just did. She is tying a lifetime biological commitment, the creation of an actual human life, to a legal financial document that is fundamentally designed to protect her premarital assets.
It's apples and oranges.
It makes absolutely zero logical sense. The entire point of a prenup, especially in an international K-1 visa marriage where she is legally required to sign an affidavit of support making her financially responsible for him for years, is to protect her wealth.
Yes.
If they get married without a prenup, and in 2 years she still decides she doesn't want kids, and he divorces her because of it, he leaves with half of her stuff.
Half of it.
She just guaranteed that her biggest fear, a messy, expensive divorce, will actually become a reality if she doesn't give him a child. It is exactly like taking out a massive second mortgage on your house just to pay off a credit card bill. She is solving a short-term emotional panic by guaranteeing long-term financial ruin.
Exactly.
But honestly, watching it, it is so sad. Emotionally, you can see the sheer visceral terror in her eyes. Mallory is terrified of losing this man.
She's desperate.
She is operating from a place of deep scarcity and panic. She thinks if I give him the ultimate gesture of trust voiding the prenup, he'll feel secure, he'll stay, and I will magically figure out the baby timeline later. It is peak magical thinking.
It is not magical thinking.
No.
It is financial suicide masked as romance. And honestly, looking at the broader context, it feels a little bit like a calculated grift on his end.
You think he played her?
The sources we reviewed mentioned some very interesting internet tea regarding Raj. Apparently, when he goes on TikTok Live, he is basically just flirting with followers and asking for money and gifts. He knew exactly what he was doing on that boat by holding out on the baby issue. He found her pressure point, pressed it, and successfully secured the bag without ever having to sign his name on the dotted line of a legal document.
Wow. I am just picturing the immigration officers sitting in a government office reviewing this footage like, wait, what exactly is the agreement here? A baby for a 401k.
They must be face-palming.
It is a total disaster, but admittedly highly entertaining. Speaking of highly entertaining and questionable intentions, we absolutely have to talk about Debbie, Mido, and the highly anticipated arrival of the internet's new obsession.
Yes, the golden boy, Caden. The only person in this entire storyline with a functioning grasp of reality.
Seriously. Okay, so Debbie has been a total, absolute nervous wreck this entire trip because she was terrified her son, Caden, wasn't going to be able to make the wedding due to his work schedule in the States.
She's been crying all week.
She is pacing the hotel, she is crying, and then out of nowhere, Caden texts that he got the time off work, he flew in, and he actually arrives at their hotel suite.
And the internet collectively swooned.
Their Reddit comments were completely out of control. I was reading them for hours. User other Aid3896 said, he could literally be a Kennedy. It's the clean-cut haircut, the jawline.
Very preppy.
Another user, Curly Q, said, Caden may be the most handsome man featured on 90 Day in a long time. Holy cow! Everyone is completely obsessed with this man.
But more importantly than his impressive bone structure or his hair, Caden arrived with a fully functioning prefrontal cortex.
My goodness.
Which is a resource sorely lacking in his mother's current relationship. He walks in, assesses the situation, immediately sits down with Mido, and the interrogation begins.
Mido didn't even know what hit him.
And Mido, who seems entirely oblivious to the fact that he is being actively vetted by the man who controls his fiancé's heart, proceeds to tell the single most unromantic, baffling proposal story I ever heard in my life.
Oh my God, the proposal story. It was horrifying. Caden asks, very politely, how the proposal happened. And Mido just smiles this goofy smile and says, well, Debbie ran away crying into the woods, and I chased her, pulled out a ring, and said, gotcha.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Like, she is a rare Pokemon he just caught in the wild.
Like he set a snare trap in the brush and waited for her to step in it. And Caden's face, in that moment, he didn't even have to verbalize a single word.
His eyes said it all.
Caden just stared at him with this deadpan, piercing look of absolute bewilderment and disgust. But Caden is smart. He doesn't linger on the bad romance.
No, he goes straight to business.
He pivots immediately to the most important logistical question you can ask an immigrant coming on a K-1 visa. What are your specific career goals when you eventually get your U.S. work permit?
Such a good question. And Mito, sitting there with his chest puffed out, claims with total sincerity that he is going to be a working actor in the United States.
Hilarious.
He genuinely believes he is going to be the next Egyptian Hollywood star. And Caden, being the protective, highly rational son, asks for a backup plan, a plan B, because, as anyone knows, breaking into Hollywood is statistically nearly impossible.
So what is Mito's brilliant, ironclad, financially secure backup plan to provide for a family in the American economy?
Oh my God.
Making YouTube music videos.
I died. I actually stopped breathing for a second.
It is the ultimate manifestation of delusion. Let's look at the mechanism of this fantasy. As Reddit user John DKLAMF put it so brilliantly in the forums,
Yeah.
having a song on YouTube is exactly like having your picture on Instagram and calling yourself a professional model.
Exactly. That is so accurate.
Caden saw right through the grift immediately. Mito genuinely thinks that just because he managed to get cast on a reality TV show, he is going to be handed a blockbuster movie deal or a platinum record the second he lands at JFK.
We love a protective son. I'm so incredibly glad Caden showed up to ask these questions. Because Debbie is completely, hopelessly cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, as one commenter so eloquently said.
She's lost in the sauce.
She is so deep in the romantic delusion that she cannot see the forest for the trees. She cannot see that Mito is just using her as a free casting agency and a stepping stone.
A casting agency and, more importantly, a wallet. Let's be very clear about the power dynamic here. Debbie is the bank.
Yep, she's funding everything.
Mito doesn't even know what a traditional wallet is anymore. He is fully banking on her retirement funds to bankroll this bizarre, highly unprofitable YouTube music video empire while he waits for Steven Spielberg to call.
Okay, speaking of funding questionable empires and bankrolling partners, let's talk about Paula and Thomas.
Oh, yes. The infamous $25,000 credit card.
The slow, painful financial drain and the absolute mystery of the fake friend.
Let's set the stage.
We are just days before their wedding. The timeline is incredibly tight. Paula is getting her final wedding dress fitting, and her sister Jacqueline makes this beautiful, sweeping surprise visit from Brazil.
It was a nice moment.
It really was. It is a genuine, emotional moment. Paula looks absolutely gorgeous in her dress. They are crying. But behind the scenes, behind the tulle and the lace, the entire foundation of the relationship is cracking.
Because while Paula is crying with her sister, Thomas is at a local gym doing the most incredibly awkward, struggling pull-ups I have ever seen broadcast on television.
The form was terrible.
And he is complaining to his quote-unquote friend Xavier. And let's just pause right here to address the elephant in the gym. A perceptive Reddit user named Prairie Child called it out, and I agree completely.
What did they notice?
There is a 0% chance that Xavier is Thomas's actual friend in real life. He looks exactly like a hired background actor who the producers paid $20 in a protein shake to stand there, nod sympathetically, and listen while Thomas delivers his exposition.
He totally does. It is such a reality TV trope, like, hey man, tell me about your relationship problems.
It's exactly. But Thomas is venting to Xavier about how Paula doesn't take his rules seriously. Specifically, we are back to this ongoing, exhausting saga about his extreme sensitivity or his supposed medical allergy to her perfume and deodorant.
It is not just the perfume issue, though. The perfume is a symptom of a larger disease.
It's the blatant disregard for boundaries, specifically financial boundaries.
Right. Thomas is incredibly annoyed because Paula just went on a massive shopping spree and spent over $900 on matching Mr. and Mrs. merchandise.
$900. On what?
And we have to remember the context. This is after Thomas handed her a credit card with a $25,000 limit at the very beginning of the season to help her settle in.
Which is an insane, incomprehensible amount of money to just hand someone you are still getting to know.
It's absurd. But
Yeah.
Here is where I am going to introduce a theory and push back on Thomas being the victim here. Listen to what Paula confesses to the cameras during her fitting.
Okay, what's her excuse?
She admits that she is absolutely terrified. She has already been through one incredibly messy, painful divorce in her past. Having her entire family fly in from Brazil puts this immense, crushing public pressure on her to go through with a wedding she isn't even sure she wants anymore.
Interesting.
I think she is buying all that Mr. and Mrs. merchandise to convince herself that this relationship is real and happy. It is textbook imposter syndrome manifesting as retail therapy. She is trying to buy the aesthetic of a happy marriage because she doesn't feel it internally.
That is a fascinating psychological read. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But we cannot ignore the tangible disrespect of the physical boundaries.
Well, no.
Whether it is retail therapy or not, if your partner looks at you and says, hey, this specific chemical compound in your perfume triggers a severe physical reaction for me, I cannot breathe, and your response is to spray it everywhere, laugh it off, and call him controlling. That is a fundamental lack of respect.
But is Thomas overly controlling with his strict, heavily regimented house rules, or is Paula just incredibly dismissive of his needs? Honestly, I think it is a toxic combination of both. They trigger the worst in each other. But listen, the internet gossip on this specific couple is piping hot right now.
Spill it.
Rumor has it, according to the spoiler accounts we reviewed, they didn't even end up getting married in the United States.
That is the word on the street.
The heavy speculation is that they bypassed the K-1 visa entirely, flew to Europe, got married in Greece just a few days ago, and Paula is already back in Brazil.
Which is wild. It completely invalidates the entire 90-day visa timeline we have been agonizing over.
Are essentially just flying all over the globe, changing zip codes to avoid dealing with their actual fundamental incompatibilities?
Well, reality TV timelines are often just an illusion, much like Mito's booming acting career. But let's move on to our final couple of the recap, who are dealing with very tangible, very real financial assets and legal structures.
Shay and Annabelle.
Yes, the inheritance fire pit.
This was, without a doubt, the most awkward social gathering I have ever witnessed.
It was a masterclass in deeply uncomfortable family dynamics. Let's set the scene. It is the official pre-wedding meet and greet.
Big stakes.
Annabelle is finally meeting all of Shay's adult daughters, Madison, Allison, and Abigail. Now, Madison, to her credit, is surprisingly cool, calm, and welcoming.
But then the sun goes down, they gather around this backyard fire pit, and the vibe completely shifts from welcoming to a full-on interrogation.
The temperature dropped, literally and figuratively.
Allison, specifically, takes the lead and brings up Shay's will, his estate planning, and the inheritance.
Over s'mores.
Right. The daughters are visibly terrified that because their dad is acting so impulsively, marrying a much younger woman from the Philippines, all of his hard-earned assets and properties are going to go entirely to Annabelle if he passes away, leaving his kids and grandkids with absolutely nothing.
And Annabelle's reaction is immediate and incredibly defensive.
I mean, wouldn't yours be?
She snaps back, loudly declaring that she has a great financially stable life in the Philippines. She absolutely does not need his money, and she shouldn't have to deal with this hostile interrogation the night before her wedding.
I actually kind of felt bad for Annabelle in that specific moment. Put yourself in her shoes. It is the night before her wedding. Her stress levels are already peaking.
True.
She is meeting these girls for the very first time, trying to make a good impression, and they are basically looking at her across the fire and asking, hey, when our dad drops dead, do we get the house or do you?
It is blunt.
It is so incredibly tacky to ask that around a fire pit while you are casually making s'mores.
I'm going to have to completely disagree with you on this one.
You think it was fine?
Is the timing tacky? Maybe. Could it have been done in a lawyer's office instead of over graham crackers? Yes. But is it a completely necessary, vital, protective measure when your aging father is an impulsive man marrying a foreign national he barely knows? Absolutely.
I don't know, it just felt cruel.
Let's look at the legal mechanism of estate planning here. When a new spouse enters the picture, the legal structure of inheritance fundamentally changes in most states. If he dies without an ironclad, recently updated will, specifically protecting those girls, Annabelle, as the surviving spouse, gets essentially everything.
Well, yes, legally speaking.
The daughters are fighting for their generational wealth.
But Annabelle took it as a massive personal attack on her character. And then, to make matters worse, Allison took the feud straight to TikTok.
Ooh, the TikTok tea.
Did you see this? Allison posted a TikTok video declaring to the internet, listen, you think you know me from the show. I pay my own bills. I take care of my own kids. I do not need my dad's money.
Which, psychologically speaking, is exactly the specific phrasing someone uses when they are incredibly deeply worried about losing access to their dad's money.
Exactly. I don't need it, but also don't touch it.
Look, Shay is not a poor man. He has multiple properties. He has built substantial wealth over a lifetime. The daughters have every right to ask these questions. The real failure here is Shay.
He just sat there.
Shay should have handled that conversation privately with his daughters in a boardroom or a living room months ago, rather than cowardly letting them ambush his fiancée at a fire pit while he stared into the flames.
It is just a massive mess. A beautiful, complicated, highly entertaining mess, which means it is the perfect time to transition into our segments, starting with one of my absolute favorites to play.
Please do it.
If you are listening, play along in your head. It is time for Love or Red Flag.
The rules for this segment are simple and strict. For each major couple we just discussed, we must mutually decide if the core issue we are seeing on screen is genuine love, a communication problem, cultural differences, or a massive red flag, and we have to aggressively defend our verdict.
Okay, let's start with the cake baker herself, Catie and Joshua. The open marriage proposal delivered 4 days before the wedding.
Massive red flag. Colossal. It is a red flag so large it is visible from low Earth orbit. You simply do not ask for an open marriage while your partner is in the other room writing traditional monogamous vows to present to their conservative parents. It is not just incompatible, it is borderline cruel.
I completely agree. It is a massive red flag. It shows a fundamental baseline lack of respect for the commitment they are literally about to legally make. Next up, Marissa and Edward. The explosive restaurant walkout over the cheating hypothetical.
I am going to analyze their baseline and label this a communication problem.
You don't think it's a red flag?
Not a terminal one. They just speak two entirely different emotional languages and operate on different nervous system frequencies. He processes his anxiety through poking, questioning, and provoking. She processes her anxiety through avoidance, physical flight, and demanding control of the immediate environment.
Okay, yes. Communication problem. They aren't evil people trying to destroy each other. They are just horribly, tragically misaligned in how they handle conflict. Okay, last one for this specific segment. Mallory and Raj. The boat proposal and the prenup hostage negotiation.
Massive red flag. Trading a definitive timeline for the creation of a human baby in exchange for avoiding a legally binding financial protection document is not an act of romance, it is a hostage negotiation.
Massive red flag. It is so incredibly transactional.
Yeah.
The subtext is literally, I will give you 2 years of peace regarding a baby if you allow me legal access to half of your assets.
That is not a foundation for a loving marriage. That is a corporate business merger gone horribly wrong.
Honestly, facts.
Speaking of things going horribly wrong, let's play Passport to Problematic.
Yes. For this game, we are going to take that episode's biggest, most consequential decisions and label them. Romantic, reckless, completely delusional, or call the visa office immediately territory.
I will kick this one off. Mito's stated career plan to become a YouTube music video star as his primary financial backup to his Hollywood acting dreams.
Completely delusional. Absolutely, undeniably unhinged from reality. You cannot fund a family, pay rent, or buy groceries in the United States economy based on 200 YouTube subscribers and a dream.
Agreed. Next on the docket, Katie's vow, spoken directly to Joshua's parents' faces, that she will try not to take other lovers during her marriage.
Call the visa office immediately territory, pick up the phone, dial the government, revoke the paperwork, and send everyone back to their respective continents. That is a national security threat to the concept of romance.
Spot on analysis.
Thank you.
Finally, Mallory getting down on one knee to propose on the deck of the rented boat immediately after discarding her prenup to stall the baby timeline.
Reckless. So incredibly reckless. She's just slapping a cheap, temporary Band-Aid over a massive, gaping arterial wound of fundamental incompatibility.
Reckless is the perfect scientifically accurate word for it. All right, let's move it to our next segment, Lost in Translation.
Ooh, I love this one.
We need to break down the most confusing, poorly executed conversation of the episode. We need to analyze what was actually said out loud versus what the subtext actually meant, and outline exactly how the entire situation could have been completely avoided.
We absolutely have to do Marissa and Edward at the restaurant. It is the perfect textbook example of two people missing each other entirely.
Let's look at the literal text of the conversation first. Marissa stood up and said, "I need a minute, I'm embarrassed."
And Edward stayed seated and said, "I'm just expressing my feelings."
But the subtext, what Marissa actually meant when you translate her anxiety was, "My nervous system is completely shot. I am deeply terrified of this impending marriage commitment, and you are actively ruining my carefully curated aesthetic evening by bringing up heavy trauma."
Spot on. And what Edward actually meant was, I have deep, unresolved, agonizing insecurities about you potentially cheating on me. I fundamentally do not trust you, and I need constant verbal reassurance from you right now, even if I have to provoke a fight in public to get it.
Exactly. They are just screaming their own insecurities at each other.
And how could this entire disastrous evening have been avoided? By not having this heavy, trauma-laden, relationship-defining conversation at a fancy public restaurant when both parties are already emotionally triggered, tired, and exhausted from wedding planning.
Or, here's a radical thought. Just don't get married. That avoids the conflict entirely.
You are terrible, but also not wrong.
Which leads us perfectly into our final segment, next week's Love Forecast. It is time for our bold predictions for the upcoming drama.
Okay, look into your crystal ball. Who is surprisingly getting stronger next week?
As shocking as it sounds, I'm going to say Debbie and Mito.
Wait, really?
Yes, not because it is a healthy, functioning relationship with a bright future, but simply because she is entirely too far gone in the sunk cost fallacy to back out now.
That makes sense.
She has bought the groom's suit. She has booked the luxury hotel suite. She has fought her son over him. She will marry this man if it legally kills her.
She is fully committed to the bit. She cannot turn back now without admitting defeat to Caten, okay, who is rapidly heading for absolute disaster.
Catie and Joshua. The open relationship discussion is the absolute nail in the coffin. You simply cannot unring that bell with a conservative British mother-in-law sitting in the next room.
You really can't. What about the next shocking revelation? What is the twist we don't see coming?
We are going to find out definitively that Thomas's gym buddy Xavier is actually just his Uber driver, that he paid $20 to stand near a squat rack and listen to him complain about perfume allergies.
I am claiming that as objective fact right now. The man was an extra. Okay, who is one bad argument away from booking a one-way flight home?
Raj, without a doubt. If Mallory brings up the concept of a prenuptial agreement one more time, or if she stalls on the baby conversation for even one more afternoon, he is packing his bags and swimming back to the Turkish Sea.
And finally, to close out the forecast, give me one completely ridiculous, unhinged prediction that somehow feels entirely possible given the cast we are dealing with.
Katie actually manages to bake her $500 DIY wedding cake. It looks structurally terrible. She drops it on the floor of the venue in a panic, and she somehow manages to blame the collapse of the cake on the oppressive concept of monogamy.
Oh my God, if I was legally allowed to date other bakers, this structural failure wouldn't have happened. I can literally hear her saying it to the cameras. That is so brilliant.
The script practically writes itself at this point.
What a session today. From DIY wedding cake disasters and British tea time trauma to boat-side legal hostage negotiations and fake gym friends, this week really gave us absolutely everything we could ever ask for in reality television.
It provided a masterclass in what absolutely not to do when communicating with another human being you allegedly love.
But before we sign off and let you get back to your day, I want to leave you with a deep, somewhat provocative thought to mull over.
Get deep with it.
As we sit here and laugh at the chaos, are reality TV relationships actually just a funhouse mirror holding up our own unhealed traumas? When we so harshly judge Marissa for walking away from a tough conversation, or when we judge Mallory for completely compromising her own financial boundaries just to keep a man from leaving, are we really just seeing the ghosts of our own past dating mistakes playing out in high definition? Is our snark actually just a defense mechanism against our own romantic failures?
That is a genuinely chilling thought to have while you were aggressively swiping on Hinge tonight looking for a 401k.
Truly, mull on that while you swipe. And hit us up in the comments or on the socials because we want to hear from you. What did your weekday horoscope actually say?
Let us know.
Are you currently spiraling in your own love life? And most importantly, what completely unhinged, impossibly difficult craft hobby has TikTok convinced you to start this week?
Please, for the love of all things logical, tell me it isn't crochet.
Right.
My sanity simply cannot take another tangled skein of yarn.
Stay romantic, stay delusional, and we'll see you on the snark side.